How did they let this happen? Anthony Black and Grady Dick, one of the best jersey swaps of all time. Surely this has to go against so many NBA rules. Adam Silver's shaking his head, and there's so many more possibilities. Jaylen Brown, Kobe White. Today we're going to look at some of the craziest moments in the NBA over the past season in a bit. Let's get into it. And we have to really kick it off with Jaylen Brown and his disappearing hairline. Obviously, it came up first against OG Anunoby and the Knicks, and then against Keyshawn George and the Washington Wizards. I'm sure no one would have noticed anything if he didn't have his head down every time he drove. Although he's streaming now and seems to be owning it. And I mean, he's balling this year, so if he puts some hairspray down to the MVP type caliber season he's having, then so be it. Maybe I need to get on it. We then have Luka, who takes a shot from 3/4 of the way down the court, but the Lakers have already called a timeout. Of course, it goes in. He stands there in disbelief. This would have given him 40 points for that game. And in that same game, Austin Reeves also had a half-court shot that didn't end up counting. One of the best characters, one of the best products of funny moments in the NBA is Draymond Green. And earlier this season against the Memphis Grizzlies, he was on fire. He first started off with telling Jaren Jackson Jr. to shut up after a flagrant foul, and then went on to troll Santi Aldama after he missed 2 free throws in a row. Prancing up and down the court. I don't know if Draymond's good enough to do this anymore. I don't know if the Warriors are playing well enough to do this, but it makes for a funny moment. And we're going to stick with Draymond here, but this focus isn't on him. Him and Dillon Brooks earlier this year were spitting back and forth. Obviously, this is before Dillon Brooks got involved in some off-court issues. And from the bench, Dillon Brooks gets a technical. Of course, one of those players where that's a real possibility. Nigel Hayes tries to cover his mouth, but it's no use. Dillon Brooks picks up the technical, and Draymond wins this mental battle. Now we're going to cross over to All-Star Weekend, where Shams was on Team Giannis during the Celebrity All-Star Game. Obviously, we know the drama that took place. Shams reporting heavily on Giannis wanting to leave Milwaukee and trade options for him. So, of course, the NBA did the funniest thing ever and put Shams on Giannis' team. Shams didn't get a lot of minutes. He put up a terrible stat line. I think he had 4 turnovers. He was on his phone a lot during the All-Star game, which isn't surprising knowing Shams. But I'll be pretty intimidated as well if Giannis really didn't want me on his team. Ant hits a 3, turns around and stares Steph down, who's not playing, as he goes back to the other side of the court. And you can see Steph here just turns, shakes his head. After it was all love, but Steph was there like, what I even do? And then one of the toughest moments this season, with DeJounte Murray dropping Jamal Sheed on a tough crossover, and then hitting the shot over him and getting right in his face. Poor Jamal probably getting spit molecules on him. DeJounte looking like an absolute menace here. Pelicans don't really have a lot to celebrate these days, but this was a tough move, and the reaction makes it even better. Next we have Desmond Bane hitting a dagger 3 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then he hits one of the forbidden celebrations. And of course I'm talking about the big balls here. We've seen this move done by Sam Cassell, LeBron, and the NBA came out and started finding players for doing this. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it, but I think it's one of the most disrespectful sellies widely recognized in the game. Speaking of disrespectful, we got Tim Hardaway Jr. pulling up to a press conference, and there was no one there. The shortest interview of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s life. He rocked up, as he's required to do, and then just turned around, walked out. I mean, I know he's not one of the stars of the team. Surely someone wanted to talk to him. We got Anthony Edwards featuring here again, and he was fined $25,000 for this full court shot attempt, which ended up hitting a security guard. If I was a security guard, I'm getting that bag. I'm securing some of that money. There's always been a grey area with these shots after the whistle's blown, but I mean, $25,000 to Ant, chump change. And then we got Joel Embiid, who hit a dagger against Cleveland and then ended up hurting his fingers in a 3-point celebration. I don't even understand how he did this, and I saw a comment that says this type of stuff only happens to AD and Embiid, and it couldn't be more true. At least the game was over and he could pull himself onto the bench, but injuring yourself on a no-contact celebration is crazy work. Next up we got KD, who at the start of the season booed the OKC crowd when they booed him in his return. Obviously KD is one of the biggest trolls in the NBA, but doesn't look too flash now with all this Twitter stuff that's come out about him. And then we have Giannis, my Bucks, early in the year when he was booing the Indiana Pacers crowd, before he eventually hit a fadeaway game winner, tough shot. And obviously the Pacers and Bucks have had beef. You could say it's probably one-sided because the Pacers usually get the better of us. And with the 64-point game ball scenario that happened a couple years ago, Giannis was just feeling his emotions in this scenario. And in hindsight, again, doesn't look that good because he ended up booing the home crowd earlier this year because the Bucks not having the best season. And to cap it off, we got some more all-star fun. We got Nikola Jokic, who makes Wemby sign his jersey with an alien attached and is just slapping Luka on the back of the neck while they're taking photos for the all-star game. Jokic and Luka never take All-Star games seriously. Whether it's for the worst or the best, you decide. But I'm sure he'd rather be with his horses at this point in the season. That's all the top funniest moments that I wanted to cover in this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like and comment. And remember to follow if you know ball. Peace.